right, welcome everybody to the Manifesting Lab. Today we are going to focus on the law of assumption. Tomorrow we are going to focus on scripting, which is a really powerful, quick, and succinct tool that you can use to help you really stay in alignment and stay in vibration to relation to what it is that you want to manifest. And then on day 3, I'm going to be teaching you how you can use ChatGPT using different prompts, and actually it's sort of like a reverse engineer process that we're going to do to back everything that we do today. We're going to take it and use ChatGPT to back ourselves into it, so you can have the script that aligns with what you're going to start creating within the next few days, and using the law of assumption. So I'm really excited about this. It's a really fun way that we can, continue to up-level our practices, because that's really what manifesting is all about. And if you're somebody who's really, you're somebody who's like a deep thinker like I am, what I want you to step into with the knowing of, look at this as like, not as like, oh, more work I have to do, but as like, oh, another tool that's really powerful that's going to help me to get into alignment. And if you practice this, right, like I always say, the magic works if you work it. If you practice this, then you don't have to go down the rabbit hole of like doing all this subconscious stuff, because this is stuff that can be practiced in your day to day. So you don't have to like sit there and do all this sort of subconscious stuff. That's great. And all if you have that incorporated into your practice, but this is just like kind of practical ways that you can incorporate to your day to day to speed up the manifesting process. So today, my intention with this workshop is to give you to pretend we're in a lab, and that I'm giving you a canvas to help you create a practice that will support you in getting clear on your desires. And most importantly, because I know where you kind of all are at energetically, is just a tool, a practice to help you dial in, right? Dial in your vibration based on what it is you're going to want to co-create within the next, 6 months to a year, because 2025 is going to be a really powerful year. And the more you practice and get into the habit of fine-tuning and refining your frequency, you get out of autopilot, and that next level of frequency becomes your next, your standard frequency. And so that's with the intention of the next 3 days together is, but also just to have a little bit of fun with manifestation. Since it's November and December, we all get really busy, and, we probably can't necessarily commit to, like all these things and trying to figure it all out. We can get a head start now. My dad's about to walk in, and we can manifest our desires. Hold on a second, ladies. Pa, estoy en un video. Estoy trabajando, ahorita abajo. ¿Ok?
Sí. Mañana,
Hasta mañana.
de todas formas.
I gotta love him. See, all the little surprises. So now you met my dad. Okay. So the law of assumption is not a very common law that most manifestation teachers, they don't really talk about it. We usually talk more about the law of attraction and the law of vibration. And so the law of assumption, at the level that, again, because you've done some work already, you've done healing, this is the law that's really going to help you to anchor more deeply, right? You all hear me say it's time to go deeper instead of wider. So this law is one of the laws I feel right now where we're at that is going to be that constant reminder of, not that we are necessarily like believing it, but we actually are anchored in the deep inner knowing. Let me know in the comments if this resonates. The deep inner knowing is different than you thinking about your desire and believing it's possible. And I can give you some examples of what that looks like. So, attraction versus the law of assumption is about maintaining your thoughts in alignment with your desired outcome. That's what the law of attraction is. The law of assumption is about activating your frequency and anchoring into the knowing that it's already done. So when I share about my journey of healing, that was the law of assumption. That was a time when it didn't matter what doctors were telling me. I had a really deep, it wasn't a conscious knowing, it was a deep inner knowing, an assumption that what they were saying or telling me was not actually my truth, and it wasn't going to impact my what I already knew to be true. It wasn't going to impact my ability to heal. That is the law of assumption. Now, at the time, this is where, manifestation becomes like more of channel manifesting, right? At the time, I didn't actually practice the law of assumption uh intentionally. I just was embodied in it. And so this is what this practice is for. This practice is ultimately to help you become embodied in the law of assumption so that you no longer really have to do a practice because you're already embodied in it. When you're embodied in it, your cells already know, your body knows, right? You move and you lead yourself from that deep inner knowing. And there's no fear and there's no doubt and there's like no distortions. The inner critic and that voice that is always telling us that it's not possible or that what if this happens? What if that happens? It gets really, really quiet. It's like almost non-existent. So this is a really powerful law because it is the law that I personally believe helps us to integrate law of attraction and law of vibration. Okay. So it's about activating your frequency and anchoring into the deep inner knowing. It's like, that your desired outcome is already done. So you're almost like living your life, like not even like giving it two thoughts, right? This is the space where no ego noise will penetrate the divine will. And remember, you are all already intrinsically encoded with the divine will. I'm sure if you look back at your life, you can find moments in time where you were so resolute and you knew, that it was already done and you didn't even worry about it. So that is actually a great exercise that you can like reflect back on a time when you felt that. Okay. So the law of assumption, assuming means because you know it will happen, you don't need to obsess over the lack of it. Okay? It will come into existence because you're feeling as though it's already there. So the embodiment piece of this is you actually taking the time when you're taking any major action towards your desires or when you're really allowing yourself to, you know, have the desire even, taking the time to say to yourself, how do I feel in my body? Like, do I feel any ounce of doubt that this is possible? Okay. Do I feel any ounce of doubt? And this means sometimes that we're going to have to, in the moment, clean up that doubt. Okay. This law is really going to help you heighten your awareness from the place of the body. Yes, the mind, but really the body. And at the end, I'm going to give you some tools that are going to help with that. And by the way, when we do your scripting and even the chat GPT, like I guess they're practices. We'll call them practices. When we do that, you're going to have some like aha moments. I was playing with mine and I was like, oh, like there's an opportunity where I'm like maybe not fully embodied in the law of assumption. Like I was having some doubts when ChatGPT gave me one of the answers that I put in. Okay. And then obviously scripting is just going to help you seal the deal even deeper. So I went ahead and looked at the levels of energy that you all have taken the assessment. And I looked at the three levels where people mostly drop to when their reality isn't manifesting fast enough that they would like, right? Or when they're, going through challenges in life and maybe they drop to that victim consciousness we talk about. And I looked at level 1, 2, and 3, which are the lower levels. And I looked at what are the areas in these levels that might actually get in the way of you being embodied in that deep inner knowing. And so these are general, but I'm going to read them out to you so you can start to just be aware. This isn't about like, oh my God, I need to fix something about myself, or oh my God, I have that belief. This is about you simply having the awareness of catching the thoughts and the feelings that are contrary to the law of assumption, that are contrary to you already knowing. Like you all, I'm sure, can relate to this. Like, I really want you to do this practice of like going back and looking at a time in your life when you were like, fuck it, I know it's already done and I'm just moving like her. And sure enough, like you were so embodied in it, you had no fear, no doubt, no limiting beliefs. You just did the thing and it manifested. Okay. So level 1 energy, again, here is where usually you want to pay attention to any like bits of obsessive doubting. And at the higher levels of consciousness where a lot of you are at, that obsessive doubting may not be super loud. It may be like you overthinking and overthinking an offer, or overthinking your messaging, or overthinking, a decision, right? It may look that way. Obsessive doubt can look like it's productive when in reality it's just like the ego's way of tricking you into that deep inner knowing, into connecting to that deep inner knowing. Okay. So constantly questioning whether it's possible or realistic even weakens the assumption. Okay. Instead, you want to take this opportunity to remind yourself that belief is a choice and you can guide yourself back into alignment with the law of assumption. Overly focusing on how it will happen. That's a common one. I was that person because I am a doer. I'm a badass who takes action. And sometimes I forget that action doesn't come from my thoughts. It comes from the inner belief system. And so I would be up in my head. By the way, this especially happened to me when I worked with mentors who were really in their masculine energy, and they like got me back up into my head with all these ways of doing things and ideas and whatever. So pay attention to that. You don't want to be up in your head trying to figure out the how, because then you block the magic. Again, you're trying to map out every step of your goal. It can create uncertainty and anxiety even, especially at this energy level. So here's about like, I get to create my desire based on the desire and trust that that desire was planted in me. And I'm just going to trust. I don't need to figure out the how. I just know that I'm going to take steps towards it. Okay. And so this helps you to release attachment. And then being aware of dwelling on what's missing. Again, a common one as you elevate in consciousness is like you manifested a bunch of things, you forgot to celebrate that you manifested the things, and now you get back on like the let's get going, let's take the action, and you forget. You're like, oh, I just manifested like a job and some money, and now you fall into like, oh, but now I haven't manifested that. Or I just manifested 3 clients, but I still haven't manifested like 3 more. So that can often happen as you get really good at manifesting, is that you forget um, to stop focusing on what's missing and keep your focus on what you have manifested. Okay. So that's law of assumption don'ts in level 1 energy. Law of assumption don'ts in level 2 energy is not entertaining the negative what ifs. What if I fail? What if this doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough? What if, right? And again, remember, this is your brain's natural bias is toward negativity. So now, if you really want to anchor into this nice, clean law of assumption, that deep inner knowing, it's about just watching where this subtly creeps in into your field, okay? Instead, asking questions, empowered questions like, well, what if it does work out better than I imagine? What if it gets to be magical? What if I get surprised by the universe in the best way possible? Okay. Seeking constant validation is another way in level 2, needing confirmation of success from others or looking for signs too eagerly can indicate underlying doubts. trusting that the result will come without the need for constant reassurance. You just know it's going to come. So you don't even have to like think about it or worry about it or anything. Okay. Um, this last one especially, okay? Because I know that again, they start to get trickier as we start to elevate in our consciousness. This last one, for example, can show up, the comparison, comparing your journey to others, it can create feelings of inadequacy. And it's very subtle because your brain is tricking you that, oh, I'm just going to look at so and so's, their Instagram or their whatever, their social media, because they really inspire me. But really, what your ego is doing is it's finding a subtle way to keep you in comparisonitis so that you continue to stay in self-doubt. Okay? So, noticing when you start to feel like crap, even if it looks like, well, I'm really just admiring this person. Okay? Instead, remind yourself that your path and timing are unique and staying focused on your desired state. Okay. I've said this to a few of my clients the past couple of weeks. You cannot compare your chapter 5 to her chapter 15. Like you don't know what chapter other people are at. Comparison, I mean, it's almost like sometimes you think you don't have to repeat it, but you do have to repeat it because we forget. Like even to myself, like sometimes I'll catch myself like, oh, so and so did great. Oh, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I wish I had blah blah blah. And it was truly good, like it came from a good intention in my heart to like be happy for the person, but then it turns into this like questioning myself and feelings of inadequacy sometimes. So paying attention to that and being mindful of that. Okay. And then level 3, it's again, not engaging with the static thoughts. It's like just observing them. Because they do pop up. They pop up, limiting beliefs pop up at every level. So, sometimes it can look like, I know I have somebody that I'm working with now that she's like, but do I really deserve this? Like, do I really need this? Right? Level 3 is very much about rationalizing. So, like, maybe you have this desire to, like, invest in something or buy yourself something nice. And then you hear the little voice, like, do I really need this though? Right? So, instead, practicing releasing by affirming your worth and visualizing yourself already living the outcome. Okay. One of the most magnetic things we can all really be doing, again, and this is a practice, is actually following your desires. It's actually following, what is going to bring you joy in the moment. The more you do that, but again, you have to be mindful because if there's any guilt ridden, like, some of us are badasses that'll just take the action, even with the guilt and with the whatever, but then we take the action and we're still holding on to the frequency of guilt. And then you kind of just like, undid the whole magic. So it's again about you know this because you're in your body. So I always say check in with your body. Do you feel guilty? And then how can you let go of that guilt, right? I catch myself all the time because for me, I've done so much cleaning up, especially around like my family, because I was raised to like just give to my family. And now when I'm like being selfish, like I desire something, I'm going to do this thing. And I feel like I might be leaving them behind, or oh, I should probably stay home and cook them dinner, for example. And I've had to clean that up. So that's an example of like these micro nuanced ways. Okay. Avoid overthinking small setbacks. That's another important one. Like when something doesn't work out for you, or something went wrong, or you even said something silly, like letting it go. So making sure that you are watching the overthinking when obstacles arise, resist the urge to spiral into doubt or even assumptions that the manifestation isn't working. Manifestation is always working, okay? It's just that, again, many of you have gotten to a level where manifestation is now about going deeper. So it's like, oh, it worked great when I started it. Yeah, because you were at lower levels of consciousness. And now you're at higher levels of consciousness, and we all touch that upper limit, that ceiling, right? And it's about like just pushing past through that, through awareness of the micro distortions, okay? So instead, treat the setbacks as part of the process and maintain a positive outlook, seeing them as adjustments guiding you to the best outcome. I saw something today. I forget what it was. I wish I had saved it because it kind of talked about this. It talked about like, people are so oftentimes focused on the end result that you forget to celebrate the steps along the way, along the journey that you have grown, that you have manifested, that you have, right? And when you don't do that, you don't anchor more deeply into the law of assumption. So just a reminder that the journey's going to have obstacles. So don't make them mean anything, okay? Don't overdo or overexert to make it happen. Again, this was something I often like have to correct because I was such a like action taker and make shift happen kind of person. When you are really embodied in that deep inner confidence and that frequency is really high, you still take the action. So you definitely are still taking the action. However, the frequency and the feeling is like, yeah, I'm chill. I'm chill because I know it's already done. I'm chill and relaxed about it because it's happening. Like, and you have so much more fun. I see this a lot in entrepreneurs who, especially the ones who are like between the 10K to 15K mark, like you're like getting there and you're just like, you think you need to push and force and, oh, I got to post and I got to say this and I got to say that. Now, it's not about not taking the action. It's about the frequency from which you take the action. If instead you take the approach, and this can be with anything, of, well, if it's already done and I get to have fun with it, like I'm taking action from a different energy. My body feels different. It feels lighter. I don't feel like I'm forcing anything. I actually enjoy it. I love it. Like if I said this to somebody the other day, if you were already a millionaire, how would you feel about taking the action you're about to take? And she was like, oh, yeah, I would just be like, it's a no-brainer. Of course I'm doing it. Joe Dispenza also says this. He says, if you are driving and you hit a bunch of traffic and you are like in a rush to get to work or wherever, right? And you start cursing the person out in front of you because they cut you off, how differently would you be if you were already like chill because you're a millionaire, because there's no rush, because it's all done, or whatever it is that you desire? How differently would you be? So you all have heard me talk ad nauseum about be, do, have, right? It's about the state. And the law of assumption is really that. It's about anchoring more deeply into the state of, I'm chill because it's already done. And I'm just taking the action from that deep inner knowing. Okay. Like, I don't care what the doctors told me. I don't care what my bank account is showing me. I know that it's already done. I just keep taking the action. Okay. So remember, the law of assumption works best with relaxed, aligned energy. Let go of excess doing and focus on being the person who has already achieved her goals. Okay. So shifting your identity and taking congruent actions sets the stage for the manifestation to occur. I want to reiterate this because it is in the action. The action has to take place. A lot of times, yes, magic will fall from the sky when you're in alignment and when you're playing with magic, but the action has to be congruent. What does congruent mean? It means that it aligns with the thoughts and the beliefs, right? When you take the action, you're taking it from that deep inner knowing, not from the action of like, oh my God, like I'm gonna do this and like sit there waiting for what are the results? What are the results? No, you take the action, you let it go because you know it's already done. There's no doubt, right? It's not about assuming it's within your grasp. It's about assuming it has no other choice but to show up. Can you all feel the difference in that statement? Like, it's not within your grasp. It has no other choice but to show up because it's done. Feel into that. Get excited even. That's what the law of assumption is. So, shifting your identity, and did I say this already? Disregard that. Creating traction. How do we create traction with the law of assumption? Number one, obviously knowing your desire. And again, check in with yourself. You will reach a point, if you're not already there, where what is really being asked of you is to have what I call a stretch goal. The stretch goal is actually really scary. It's something that's really big and that it's challenging you to grow, because I know where all of you are at between level 3 and 4, and that level, that's what's required. So if you don't already have a stretch goal, tomorrow we're going to work on that. We're going to work on what is the thing, something that scares you, because you almost need that in order to expand your nervous system. When you expand your nervous system, you expand your capacity to receive and to hold. Okay, so it's having that stretch goal. Then obviously energetic alignment, as I said before, you're taking action from I know, like I know, like I know. I know, like I know, like I know. I don't see how, but I know, like I know, like I know. I didn't even care when doctors were like, no, Hashimoto's at that level is you're not going to heal it. I was like, it like went in one ear and out the other, literally. Okay. Persistence. Persistence is key. Persistence is not force, it's focus. Okay. It's focus backed by action. And you see action as the last one. So that is what persistence is. And it, again, it's about backing it with the frequency of like, of course it's done. Of course. And so, lastly, I added some activation mantras or affirmations, whatever you want to call them, that you can use in those moments where you're like deciding to anchor into this assumption that it's already done, whatever it is for you. And again, we can use these on day 3 to create your script. Okay. So it's already done, and everything I need flows to me effortlessly. It's not so much about saying it, because you can take these and make them your own, whatever you want, or you can come up with your own. It's about feeling it. It's about like truly feeling relaxed in your body, that it's already done. And if doubts, fears, limiting beliefs come up, it's about you having the awareness to say, there's no space in my field for you because it's already done. So you can't hold 2 different frequencies at the same time. So when that comes in, it's you making sure that you're like taking it and saying, nope, it's already done. I know, like I know, like I know. And using these to help you get back into alignment if you come out of it. I confidently assume that my success is inevitable and the universe supports me in every way. This is one of my favorites, actually. I am worthy of everything I desire, and I lead myself from this knowing. This one is really good if you ever feel like, almost like I had somebody say to me the other day, she's like, she's doing really well in her business. And she said to me, like, who am I to want more? Like, who am I to desire more? And I asked her, I asked her a magic question, and to gauge whether the desire was coming from ego or it was coming truly from her soul. And the desire was something that she's had for a long time. And sure enough, when we cleaned up that, like, it's almost like guilt energy of like, who am I to want or desire, right? Who are you not to? Because, like I always say, your desires were planted in you for a reason. They are seeds of intelligence that are you're holding inside of you, that are meant for you to create so that your consciousness elevates and the collective consciousness rises. Okay. So if you're ever feeling like, who am I to, raise my prices? Who am I to want this? Who am I to ask for this? This is a great one. I am worthy of everything I desire. I can lead myself from this knowing, and I lead myself from this knowing. Okay. So these are the activations. Tomorrow, we're going to work with scripting and just the wheel of wealth to help you get more clear as to what it is you desire. And then we're going to start to map out what the scripting looks like. And then we're going to plug it into ChatGPT on Wednesday, and also add some prompts to it so that ChatGPT can really give us a nice, clean script. The reason I also love this is because a lot of times when we are creating our own, scripts or whatever, vision boards, whatever you use, um, it's charged with our own emotion that isn't fully clean. And ChatGPT, because it is like a computer, right? It takes it makes the energy neutral because it takes any static out of it and it makes it neutral. And then you can read it and you actually feel like, oh, there's no static here. It's hard to explain because you have to kind of work with it. But for me, I know it's helped me. And then what I did was I took my script and took my phone and I read the script into my voice notes and now I listen to it. So if you're somebody who gets activated by audio, that's another really cool thing that you can do. Like listening to your own voice, it rewires the neural pathways and you just anchor more deeply into it. So it's really fun to play with this. And I'm excited to go deeper into this work with you ladies the next few days. So I'm going to stop sharing and see if there are any questions. Anybody have any questions? No, you all feel good. Unmute yourself if you have questions or insights.
I love all this. It's funny because a lot of this has been coming up for me, like this information. Um, so this is great. It's just taking it deeper.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding, Kim. Thank you for sharing that because it's like everybody's like, we've reached the level, right? Like, yeah, I manifested some things, it's been great. And now it's like, okay, let's go deeper. Let's actually not forget the tools that have helped us. So, yeah, I'm excited about the law of assumption. It's a really powerful one. And when we put it all
Yep.
together, it's going to be really cool.
Yeah. No, it's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Not sure if you said it, but part of the law of assumption means assuming that something is already done, is like just taking it not for granted, but just taking it, concluding that it's already done. And then the other portion for me of that is that works for me is it already exists. And that's how I can have the inner knowing. It's like an inner knowing that it already exists. And that's what I'm after. I'm after the inner knowing.
Yeah. The inner knowing becomes the more you practice this, anchoring it, right? And I'm going to give you two more things that you can do to anchor more deeply. The more the inner knowing gets refined, because a lot of you already have that inner knowing. It's a matter of you recognizing the inner knowing so that it gets more amplified. Does that make sense? So, two ways that you can anchor more deeply into the inner knowing is number one, celebrating everything that you have already manifested. And I know that sounds like simple, but you get so used to that next level of manifestation that you actually forget to celebrate. And celebrating compounds energy. And that helps you in the anchoring process. And the other part to this is a little bit similar, but it's seeing how far you've come on your journey and how much you've overcome to get to this like manifestation. We forget how incredibly powerful we are. Like even myself, I'm like, like the other day, it's like almost like you take inventory of your life trajectory and you see it's just like a reminder of how powerful you are. Like I was looking at my healing journey. I was talking to my son and we were talking about my 16-year karmic cycle and everything that I've like, oh my God, like everything that I went through and alchemized, right? Now, to me, because I'm in it, it doesn't seem like I'm like, oh yeah, I lost my mom, went through grieving, did the thing, you move on, life goes on. But to him, because he was, young when it happened, and now he's a young adult and he was listening to it, he was like, oh my God, Mom, like you really like went through a lot and you really like stepped up. And I was like, oh, I did. And you forget, you're like, wow, I have the power to, move mountains pretty much. So that's going to help you also anchor into that deep inner knowing when you do kind of like just like an inventory of your life journey and everything that you've, created and overcome and how much you've grown. I love to do this at the end of every year. Maybe I'll bring it into the December human design training where I go through each month and look at how far I've come and like the obstacles, the wins, and just kind of create like a little map of that. So yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Carolina.
Thank you, Sonia. I think today I could have used, I confidently assume that my success is inevitable and the universe supports me in every way. I feel like today, like midday, I hit something and it's interesting like, because I started tapping, I started through tapping, that's when the doubt came in of, oh, I don't believe that I can be successful. And then I'm just kind of like, wow, that's fascinating. That's the fear that it's not possible. And then that's the reframing to
Yeah.
that fear.
Another real cool one, like real quickie one that is easy to remember is like what I want, what I desire, desires me.
Mm.
What I desire desires me. I think that's actually a Rumi quote. What you want wants you. But like honestly, if you want to start, like I would for the first, for a few weeks, like put it on your phone as like an alarm and let the alarm go off and like you read it and you sit there and you like, oh, like what I want wants me, or money wants me, or clients want me, or the job wants me, or whatever, that you can tap into the feeling because it is already done. It's already in a parallel universe. And again, we're just getting started. Now we're gonna like I said, we're gonna start to reverse engineer tomorrow. And then when we play with Chat GPT, we'll just create our own script and you guys can have fun with it. Anything
Looking for
else? Oh,
I think the desire one is because you were mentioning today, just follow your desire, like go along with your desire. I think the desire one is still I, I think I talked to you about it at some point, but it's something that I'm still feeling there is stickiness there around desire and desires, uh, because maybe there is like the way that my mind interprets desires, it comes and I'm like, well, you're not supposed to desire that or something. So I think maybe the desire in the body, in the heart, it's very pure. And then the way that it gets translated mentally or in the thoughts, it becomes like, oh, like, yeah, like, why would you desire that? But I think, I mean, it's something that I've been working with for a while with the desires, because I remember one of my spiritual teachers like a while ago told me, she said, well, you have very pure desires in you, just like your energy is very pure. So you have very pure desires. And I think there is still some fear in me around the desires.
So usually that is a byproduct of some form of guilt of like you're not allowed to have it or you're not deserving of it. And there's like a little bit of guilt, right? And so one way to mitigate that, and because I know you, right? And I know your heart is like, if I was a kid, how would I play today? And reconnecting back to that childlike state for some of us, right? Like I know I'm somebody who gets up in her head a lot about like things because my work requires me to think. And so if I'm way too up in my head and not in my body, and then I have a desire, my brain does that. It's like, who do you think you are? Like desire. And then I'm like, well, now I just tell it to F off. I'm just like, F off, you know? And I'm like, no, we have one life, you guys. Today's 11/11. My mom passed away 15 years ago today. On this day, you have one life. You get to desire whatever you desire and create it. That's it. That's it. No overthinking. But for everybody's a little different because everybody's nervous system is different. So for you, I know you. So I know that you love dancing and you love playfulness and, connecting to that inner child. And for each one of you, whatever that is for you, I know, Kim, you love skydiving. If you need to go skydiving, go skydiving. Maybe that's what you need. You need like that rush, you know? So you all got to find with the activator that's going to activate that like joy de vivre for you when you feel like you're way up in your head. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Awesome. All right. I don't want to keep you too long. Anything else? Steph, do you have anything?
I don't. This is good. This is good. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So I will see you ladies tomorrow. We will play with scripting and then next day for ChatGPT. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you for being here. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Bye.
Good night.